Good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. We are very happy to see you all. My name is Zoe Bennett. I'm president of the Women's Federation for the Middle East. And I want to really thank everyone for coming to this second session. It is a very important session that will deal with women as peacemakers. It is a very important characteristic of women. We are two co-hosts today. We have a very dear friend, Miss Aya Mohtadi, who is going to co-MC together with me. We will discuss about peace today, women and peace, and we will discuss about the Middle East. Really, I think for those who are not from the Middle East, because we have many people, I must say that we are expanding all the way to Japan and Korea, perhaps. We have people that are watching us from all the way there. It is a very late time. It's 11 o'clock in the night for them. And I must thank them very much. For those who are not from the Middle East, when we observe the Middle East, we think it's like a field, a battlefield, a constant battlefield. There's fightings and conflicts all the time. But is that the real face of the Middle East? I don't think so. Middle Eastern people have a desire of peace, have a desire of hard work, have a desire of living in a joyous life. And I think this is the real face of the Middle Eastern people. How can we find the way to gain that peace that will bring finally out the real face and the real capacities and qualities of that part of the world, that region of the world? The United Nations has long recognized the importance of the contribution of peace for the women, the potential of women to contribute to peace. But it seems that this potential has not been explored enough in this region. So if this women's peacemaking potential is explored and also used, applied, then I think all the needed peace will gradually come, and the immeasurable potential of this region in culture, in wisdom, in spiritual values, in natural beauty, it will come out. It will come into existence. It will really be revealed. So how can we, as women, contribute to that? How can we contribute to peace? This is what our speakers will tell us today. And we are going to explore two parts of the region of the Middle East. There are many conflicts, unfortunately. We will take two paradigms, the paradigm of Israel and Palestine, and of Cyprus. For those who, Cyprus is a bit less known. Those who don't know, Cyprus is a beautiful island in the Mediterranean Sea, which is somehow hosts two different communities, the Greek community and the Turkish community. And what is necessary to be done is that the relationships between the two communities can be normalized, and that can be a certain homogenized state of the country between the two. It is definitely not impossible, but it needs a lot of effort. And we will hear more from our Turkish Cypriot speaker today. So before we continue, I would like to remind you, although I believe you saw it as you were opening your screen, that this session is being recorded. And if you do not wish to appear, you only need to turn off your camera, and nothing will be shown. Also about the questions, I believe today there's going to be a lot of questions during the deliberation of our speeches, speakers and also afterwards, please don't hesitate to write them on the chat in English or in Arabic. And at the end of the presentations, those questions, as much as possible, will be read and expressed in English, asked to our speakers. Even if they're written in Arabic, they will be spoken in English, and they will be answered in English as well. So after this introduction, I would like now to start by showing a short video, which is made by Mrs. Karma Ekmekci. I don't know if she's present in our audience. I don't think so. She's a Lebanese Armenian young politician. She's head of former Prime Minister Saad Hariri's International Affairs Office, and she's a great defender of peace and an amazing advocate for women, as you will see in the short video that we will watch now. Thank you.
Good morning from Beirut. I'm making this video. This video is a call for every girl, for every woman in Lebanon, for every woman and every girl in the Arab world, in the Middle East. It's up to us. We are the ones who are going to fix this. We are the ones who are going to be the glue that keeps our society together. We are that bond that we're going to keep our communities from fighting amongst each other. We are the ones who are going to prevent conflict. I call on every woman and every girl in Lebanon and in the region to be cool-headed, to be rational, to mediate, to prevent this from spiraling into a conflict, whether it's a civil strife or a regional one. We need to be prudent, we need to be emotionally intelligent, and I know we can salvage this situation. I know it in my heart, I know it in my head, I know it, that we can salvage the situation. But we need to be the ones leading right now. We need to lead. Every girl, every woman in Lebanon.
Thank you. A very powerful video, don't you think so? Okay, so now I will let our friend Aya introduce our next speaker.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing fine. So our first speaker will be Carolyn Moster. She's the Vice President of WFWPI for Europe, and she's also the Vice President of the NGO Committee on the Status of Women at the UN in Geneva. And as Director of the United Nations offices, she led their advocacy team in the United Nations in Geneva for 20 years up till now, focusing on peace, on education, and human rights for the empowerment of women and girls in specific and protection of the family. Now, her concern for youth led her to create the WFWPI UN internship program in Geneva in 2005, where she is still the director of it. And she has engaged in the Women's Conferences for Peace in the Middle East since 2002, so that's been like 12 years for now, even more. She has 7 children, 3 granddaughters even. That's very impressive that she's so in the doing so many leadership positions, and she still has a family so tight, because they always say it's hard, but for women, everything's possible. And she also has a supportive husband who are a resource and inspiration for her work. She's very inspirational, so please welcome Carolyn Moster. I leave the floor for you right now.
Thank you very much, Aya. I know you shouldn't do this as a speaker, but I apologize before I start that what I'm going to say is not it's a little bit more setting the framework of the event. The facts and the details of what's happening in different places will come from the other speakers. So I received notice a couple of days ago about the spouse of the ambassador of one country who died from wounds that she received in the Beirut explosions. And I was thinking about that, and I had met her, and spoken with her. And I thought, well, that is the first face and somehow life that I can connect to from someone that was affected by this catastrophe. You know, I mean, except maybe now I heard just from Svetlana just a few minutes ago. But I was thinking, culture of peace, really building and living in a culture of peace, is when we can feel each other's situation, when we are really moved in our hearts to respond because we really care. So the theme of my short little expose is the power of ideas, the power of example. So for ideas to click and elicit action, we have to be able to relate to them. You know, we have so much hard news. How many of us have watched these billowing flames from the explosion in Beirut? But it's so shocking, and it's not personal. It's difficult to be personal, to make it personal. I listened to an event 2 days ago. It was the 1 million Rally of Hope on a Saturday night or Sunday morning. And former Secretary General of the UN, Ban Ki-moon, spoke. He was one of the key speakers. And he was saying that together with a whole list of other top world leaders who also spoke at that event, he expressed his conviction that peaceful coexistence is possible now or soon. In spite of all the tragedy, the war, the injustice, all the skirmishes and fights and battles that he had tried to broker while he was Secretary General and witnessed, he still believes that. And he believes that there is a growing solidarity and courage and a righteous call at this time that is being driven by civil society. So he, not coming from civil society, actually from government and then the United Nations. So the crux of his formula actually was the power of civil society. And in fact, he even indirectly mentioned the Women's Federation for World Peace as one of the partner organizations. So as Madame Karma just said in her video, it is our turn now as women. Really, I believe it absolutely too. It is up to us not to dominate, sometimes to lead from behind, sometimes from the side, but in our heart and spirit to have that kind of leadership sense. We have to prove ourselves trustable partners because, in fact, we can't do it alone. Government needs us and we need them. Different institutions need us. Our reach is different. Our capacity to touch and motivate from early childhood to every corner of every city is critical because what we are striving for has to do that. It has to reach everywhere. Civil society, and I would say women, especially caring women, dedicated women, have something unique and special and essential to add to this equation of problem solving and sustainable peace. I think today's speakers will show you that hope from different angles. The the Sustainable Development Goals, which I'm sure you all are aware of and probably some are working with, are really a remarkable map of ideas that anyone can find a place for themselves inside to begin working. But in fact, if we don't feel invited in, we remain onlookers, observers, not engaged. So even this needs mediators. And this has to be civil society. In fact, this has to be civil society organizations, such as our NGOs, like women's federations, and all those who are working as partners with us. We discovered, Women's Federation, we discovered long ago through our hundreds, I would say probably thousands even, of overseas projects and hundreds of programs, how much people yearn to be valuable in their communities. And the more they act on that, the better their ideas become and better becomes the quality of their lives. Even more so, we see this in our internship programs at the United Nations offices in Geneva and Vienna and New York, where students have an opportunity to sit in on negotiations, practice advocacy with governments, and build networks with other NGOs, and really test out their leadership. As Madame Karma's video showed, a Middle Eastern woman in Beirut's call to action for youth and women. Why is that so powerful? Why were her words so powerful? Because she, caught in the middle of the tragedy, she still believes in humanity, and she is leading by example. These are powerful elements of success of any kind of mobilization or campaign or project. Also for these same reasons, Women's Federation for World Peace in Europe initiated a call for support to victims in Lebanon, which our Women's Federation chapter leaders initiated within hours of the explosion. Our chat box of our WhatsApp groups were just going crazy with all the ideas of what should be done, what we can do to respond to the needs of the people who are left so vulnerable and so hurt. So I think if you look in in the chat box now, you will see, I hope, the letter that we have written, our call for relief for Beirut. And if any of you want to drag that onto your desktop and possibly read it or send it around, we're very happy for that. And then one closing thought, because we also work a lot in the area of protection of the family. Children usually learn in early life that generosity, empathy, loyalty, even self-sacrifice brings great joy to their parents and to their families. Our task today is calling us to see that we do not miss this opportunity, as I think we did in the year 2000, at the turn of the century, when there was another amazing opportunity that didn't go far enough. So our opportunity is to encourage, not damage, that desire in not only children, actually, but all humanity, to be able to contribute personally to a culture of peace and co-prosperity, just one step at a time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Hanshin. Indeed, the major word is engagement, isn't it? We need to feel engaged, feel called, and really act for whatever we feel is correct. So now I would like to invite Mrs. Svetlana Jovic. She's Senior Civil Affairs Officer of UNIFIL. It is the United Nations Peacekeeping Missions in Lebanon, UNIFIL. And she's having an extensive experience working for United Nations peacekeeping operations. So Mrs. Jovic, she has a legal background, and she's promoting the involvement of women in decision-making and peace processes. So the floor is yours, Mrs. Jovic.
Thank you, Zoe. Thank you so much for introducing me to the audience, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about Lebanon and women's role in Lebanon, overshadowed with this terrible tragedy, what happened in Beirut. In a very short period of time, women in Lebanon became a symbol of popular revolution that started in October last year. Before I talk about their role in that revolution, I would like to give you a context in which women in Lebanon have been raising different issues for the last 50 years. Lebanon is, for example, on the political representation, is consistently ranked as one of the lowest in the region in terms of parliamentary representation of women. To remedy this situation, women's groups have lobbied to advance a draft electoral law known as the female quota that would allow 30% quota of women to be participating in the parliament. Unfortunately, in 2017, government failed to pass this law. Situation with civil status is even worse for women. Lebanon has 15 separate personal status law for each recognized religions, but no civil co-regulating issues such as divorce, property rights, or care for children. These laws are administered by autonomous religious court with very little or no government oversight, and often issue rulings that violate women's human rights. One of the most striking examples of legal discrimination is that Lebanon women, for example, cannot pass the citizenship to children. Not only the law does deny women nationality rights, it also can leave children stateless. Yes, still we are here. Thank you. First, yeah, that's okay. Another legal discrimination is that women after divorce are not eligible to have custody over their children. These are just examples I wanted to share with you to understand why this so-called people's revolution, popular movement, street protests, or however they've been called, has had women in their front. Next, please. In October 2019, Lebanon's nationwide protests were in response to a range of issues, long-standing public grievances related to accountability, corruption, human rights violation, and economic deterioration. Demonstrators have transcended sectarian, regional, generational, and traditional party political loyalists to condemn a broken political economic system, all in spirit to build a new, fair, different, sustainable alternatives. Women have joined this protest in mass numbers. Actually, women have been front lines of this protest since day one. From the viral footage of a woman kicking an armed security guard to the powerful images of women forming a buffer between the army and protesters, women have been instrumental in the revolutionary's success. Next, please. So, many have actually said that the participation of women have contributed to the success of these popular protests. First of all, nearly the same number of women and men participated in the process from the very beginning, which for Lebanon was very unusual and never seen before. Women have joined the protest from diverse socioeconomic, religious, professional backgrounds, ages, orientation, and they have taken several different roles. The most prominent one was the de-escalation of violence. A positive correlation between women's participation in protest movement and non-violence was proved by global research in many different countries. And here, popular movements are significantly more likely to remain non-violent when women are participating in large numbers. And here, Lebanon proved that this global research was right, because all popular protests where women were majority or in a large numbers, they were non-violent. The moment when political parties started calling for rallies and gathering, women stopped participating and they were violent end of demonstrations. How women actually acted in this street protest? They have been physically inserting themselves into the situations deemed as unsafe and at risk of escalation, serving as a human buffer between security actors and protesters. They were leading marches within or between conflicting communities to ward off violence and call for peace. Next, please. Other roles that women have taken was mediation, online mobilization, and media coverage. This actually led to a very interesting situation. after the formation of a new government, after Prime Minister Hariri has resigned in October. The new government, formed by Prime Minister Hassan Diab, had the most female ministers in the nation history. Women who had never held political position before were chosen to be by their political parties and were appointed to lead 6 main ministers: defense, justice, media, employment, youth and sports, and displaced. Not only that these governmental officials who were taking responsibility resigned, not only they have taken responsibility, but they have also, these women were first to resign after the Beirut blasts. The 3 women have actually taken, with their official resignation, have taken the government of a prime minister and have requested a responsibility of a government and actually catered into the popular demand that government should leave. So not the women only showed the positive leadership and sense of duty, they have also had the courage to take a responsibility for something they have never been part of, because they have never ever been in any public function before in their careers. Next, please. In the meantime, the Beirut explosion happened, and it has been a lot of pictures and words about that. So I just have chosen to take something exceptional, what's take out from this tragedy, something exceptional that is now happening in Lebanon and in Beirut, again with the mass involvement of women. Next. Women are engaged, especially young women and youth, in emergency program. They are taking a lead in helping elderly, in assisting in cleaning, in opening services. Next, please. There have been volunteers formed on the streets of Beirut from young people who are engaged in cleaning. Not only that, they are organizing free food, they are organizing public kitchen. They also immediately have this environmental awareness that they are collecting rubbles and sorting it out. They are collecting glass for recycling. They are it's amazing mobilization of diaspora that's happening online and through social media. But one more additional, what I would say, influence, it's coming from women's mass participation is art, fashion, and design. Please, next. In the midst of this humanitarian seek for donors and requests for help, Lebanese women have used art, culture, tradition to reach out as diaspora and donors and to mobilize them. In spite of suffering, and I work in humanitarian world since 90s, when my country, I'm from Croatia, I was in war, involved in Balkan, and I remember the Balkan images of horror and suffering and sadness. These women, and with through their influence, the almost positive spin, artistic, creative spin, is given to this terrible apocalyptic tragedy that happened in Beirut. And this is something also worth noting. Next, please. The power of social media in both cases, during popular movement and now during the Beirut disaster, cannot be emphasized, cannot be, I'm sure that most of you have actually seen the pictures through social media and had instant in live situation what's going on in the Beirut. Some of most powerful and widely circulated monologues have been of women speaking their truth, sharing their experience and condemning entire ruling elite during the public protests. The popularity and influence of such messages speaks to empowered role women are playing in all movements. Is it public? Is it in war? Is it in emergency? Is it in disaster? I thought to show you, if possible, only one of the sites. Mostly youth volunteers are showing situation and where they are. They are calling volunteers on different streets to help and to assist whoever needs an assistance. This is one of the examples of youth activities. So that's all from my side. I just wanted to bring here it is, the one more, to see how youth and young people, how there is a hope.
On a compté les lendemains qui nous restaient mais incertains. On s'est perdu sur un chemin, une inconnue dans le refrain. De grands sourires ne changent rien, car nos débuts jouaient la fin.
These are the photos from after the blast. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Donna, for this wonderful, wonderful talk and those wonderful footages of the videos. It's really good to see people bring awareness to the issue happening here in Beirut. So I think now we're going to move to the other paradigm, that of Mrs. Samia Al-Wazir in Palestine. She's our next speaker. She was born and raised in Kuwait. She got her MBA in Public Governance from Model University in Vienna. Her thesis was about the role of Palestinian women in enhancing the civil society. And she also was a member of the International Women's Club during her stay in Finland. And then she served as vice president of the Arab Women's Forum in Austria. She also served as the board of UN Women's Guild in Vienna. So she's been everywhere. She worked in several places in Palestine, in the Quds Bank, the Bank of Palestine, the Palestinian Olympic Committee, and as an event planner. And she is a member in several boards of directors. Right now, she's married and she has one son. So as you can see, she's very inspirational and out there. So Mrs. Samia, I leave the floor for you. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Aya. Let me first extend my deep sympathies to people of Lebanon. It was a shock for everyone, and I strongly believe in the message delivered by Karma in the video. Yes, women, they have a strong and important role in strengthening their societies and communities. I'm going to talk about discrimination, racism in my country, Palestine. And I want to start with what kind of discrimination we face, and then what we are doing as a civil society to get rid of these aspects, or at least to reduce it. So, women and girls in Palestine continue to experience various forms of violence due to the discriminatory social norms and the traditions and the prolonged Israeli occupation. The most common types of violence against women observed in Palestine include domestic violence, sexual harassment, early marriage, and femicide, as well as public and private spheres, including streets, workplaces, homes, and high density areas such as refugee camps, particularly in Gaza. The outdated and discriminatory laws in Palestine hinder survivors of violence from accessing gender-responsive services and obtaining justice. In addition, survivors of violence often face social stigma and are blamed as responsible for the violence occurred to them. Now, What is our role as a civil society? We believe the stronger that women are, the less oppressed they are, the less that they are violated in terms of human rights, the stronger their countries are going to be. Now, under the umbrella of the General Union of Palestinian Women, a broad national coalition was formed in 2011, composed of representatives of women's organizations, rights-based and legal organizations that support women's rights, political, legal, and social activists, lobbyists, and advocates. This coalition involved in the following. First, the Family Protection Unit. It's a police body specializing in family protection and reducing family violence, formulated with the active participation of Palestinian civil society, providing increased protection for women. And we also have this, the personal status law. Our achievement is the following: developing a unified personal status law applicable in West Bank and Gaza with regard to minimum marriage age for girls, the equal rights to divorce, child custody, inheritance, and polygamy. Second, modifying and amending the penal code with regard to crimes against women, particularly so-called honor killings. These amendments, formulated with the active participation of Palestinian civil society, encompass articles that provide increased protection for women in greater conformity to international legal standards. Also, adopting the Family Protection from Violence law that has been provisionally accepted by the Council of Ministers, and amending articles that give reduced sentences to perpetrators of so-called honor killings. In 2012, an independent commission was established by the Palestinian government to propose measures for the implementation of Resolution 1325 to facilitate the development of the National Action Plan and ensure greater women's participation in political negotiations and in the peace process. Resolution 1325 has been added to the agenda of many civil society organizations active in the field of women's rights in Palestine. And then comes the accession of Palestine to CEDAW. That was 2014, and that was a historical step. However, discrepancies continue to exist between CEDAW commitments and the formulation and enforcement of policies and laws in Palestine. The existing legal framework contains laws that discriminate against women, particularly in matters of divorce, child custody, and inheritance. To complete legislative reform process, we are doing the following. First, increasing the number of national campaigns and public consultations carried by civil society organizations to influence public opinion on gender equitable personal status law. Second, enhancing legal aid to women, particularly with regard to legal consultations on Sharia, personal status issues, namely alimony, custody, divorce, marriage, and dowry. For women living in poverty, fees should be waived and free legal aid provided. Third, monitor government commitment to achieving legal reform in line with the CEDAW commitments and with the principles of Resolution 1325. Fourth, draft and implement a national gender and employment strategy focusing on ensuring women's access to vocational and technical training, including women with disabilities. And fifth, promote Palestinian women's political participation and access to decision-making positions. That was a quick glance on what the civil society in Palestine is doing so far. And thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
so
very
much,
much, Mrs.
Amia.
Rosa. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you demonstrated very well that women, they can try not to stay in the state of victims, but try to rebuild peace, no matter what the circumstances can be. This is how we need to face our circumstances. And now I would like to invite Dr. Iris Dotan-Katz. She's a senior clinical and organizational psychologist. She's from Israel. And in her personal and professional life, she's exploring, practicing, and implementing spiritually based social engagement, incorporating ethical principles and mindfulness practices. She's a lecturer and also a supervisor of programs on conflict resolution, reconciliation, and coping with stress. And she's a fantastic and brilliant activist for peace. So, Mrs. Katz, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Zoe, and thank you for the opportunity to share here my pains and my vision. First, I would like to express really my deep concern and sorrow and solidarity with the people in Lebanon due to the terrible catastrophe that is happening there. Really shocking. So I must say that yes, I was engaged in peace and conflicts for a long time in different platforms as a researcher and activist and as a mother and psychologist. And I was plunging and bore witness to all kinds of conflicts. Also conflicts between left and right in my own country, and mostly in our interwoven lives in this piece of land between us Israelis and Palestinians. And for me, it was and it is still a long journey, a path accompanied by long periods of pain and suffering, and very short occasions of joy, I must say. But lately I was reflecting on this frustrating path, and I realized what some issues that I would like to share with you, as also I'm trying to share with my colleagues and friends, women peace activists in Israel. And I thought that I organized the 4 attitudes that for me help me to maintain walking in this path of trying to build something here in this region. And these kind of stone miles, and I would speak about what I call determination, tolerance, compassion, and love. And okay, and when I'm talking about or thinking about, reflecting about determination, for me it means that while, as you asked me to speak about building or shaping the future, while reflecting on shaping the future, we have to realize that the future is very far, but it is also here in the present, in this very moment. And I believe that each step that we are pacing in the present is part of the future. And I hope, even though we feel many times that we are failing, that we are building the infrastructure, an infrastructure to coexistence of these two peoples, and also coexistence of different groups in each people. I will speak about my country. There are many conflicts between extremist, rightist, and leftist groups in Israel, and for me, one of the things that I now am occupied with, trying to study the extremist rightists in order to get to know them and to find a way to present them another perspective, referring to the conflict and the situation with the Palestinians. Because if we wouldn't have inner peace here in Israel, I believe that we cannot advance an outer peace with the Palestinians. But for me, the most important thing, much more than projects that I used to do before, is trying to connect, to find a way to connect groups of Palestinians and Israelis, especially women, just to know each other. I mean, we have this project of bringing mothers and children to the beach. We are trying to teach meditation. We are having discussions about coping with the coronavirus, and all of that, it's in order to get closer and acknowledge the similarities, especially the similarities between us. And I know that this, when I'm talking about determination demands patience. I found that I must realize that I cannot be too ambitious. I have to make plans, or we all have to make plans, but we have so many obstacles. So we try to see the obstacles as challenges, but it is difficult, especially in this era, especially in this time of political situation in Israel. We are very much into, demonstrations against the parliament and the prime minister, and also in this Corona time, which everything is impermanent, everything is uncertain. But still, the important thing for me is to be patient and to be determined, to have this determination. And I always say that we have to develop hope. Despair is not an option for us. It's not an option. It's not an option. The second thing that I was thinking about trying to practice is the tolerance. For me, maybe it is out of my spiritual practicing, is how much we have to see ourselves in the other and the other in ourselves. I think that we are reflecting the other and being reflected by the others, and we have, in my opinion, the same ingredients: the good, the bad, and also the victim and the perpetrator. But if each of us from the both sides wouldn't see the perpetrator in himself and the victim in the other one, we wouldn't, it will be very, very, I don't want to say we wouldn't, but it will be very, very difficult to advance building this infrastructure for the future. I think one of the practices for that is really not to label, try not to be stuck to our stigmas or previous opinions, and especially not making definitions. He is that, he is Palestinian and he is like that, he is Jewish or Israeli and he is like that, and Arab citizen of Israel is Israeli, no, he is Palestinian. No, it's not the issue now, because we have not to label, in my opinion, each other, and because labeling is making separation. And also in my mind is that we have these meetings between women from both sides is an opportunity to make something which is not we and them, but it's something like us, because we are women, so we have the big we of women and of us. And as much as we practice this fact that it's not we and them, maybe then we can hold the paradox that we have, in my opinion, in living here in Israel or Israel-Palestine, paradox of differences, oppositions, contradictions, like how we can contain the idea of Nakba and Independence Day in Israel, which is the same day, almost the same day, Nakba of the Palestinians, and still kind of joy of Israelis that are having their own state of Israel. Or the same time feeling the catastrophic situation in Gaza, but still understanding the children that are growing in the borders, in the villages in Israel, suffering of bombs all their lives. So there is something that we have to contain, which is really very difficult. And for me, the third thing, or the third attitude, is really compassion. Compassion and not mercy, like mercy comes from patronizing. Compassion is, for me, it is an attitude that arises maybe from this unsolvable situation of us. Really, it is, in a way, a feeling of unsolvable, but still we have to do something. And develop compassion, which is arising from not knowing. We really don't know. We don't know what's going there. We don't know the future. We don't know what will happen. But we have to in a way to train our mind in order to be open to the oneness, to the similarities that we have between us, Palestinians and Israelis, especially women. And I think that like kind of compassion, maybe it is celebrating Passover, Christmas, and Eid al-Fitr. It is grieving with friends of mine in Palestine that lost their beloved ones, and trying to deliver this grieving to others here in women or people in Israel that really were in a way trained or grew up or educated to see the other as enemy. So, enemy. So, and the other, is not an enemy, is the one who has lost his father or his son. And I think that also compassion must come from never-ending action and social engagement that we have to do, also even for small solutions, also in order to feel the togetherness. And the last thing, I think that we women, it's our mission, is really to develop and spread what I call the motherly love. Nobody can grow and develop without love, and love, we cannot exist without love, especially in these conditions that we have here of conflict, discrimination, suffering, injustice, occupation. And we must meet these feelings and awakening something which is sometimes the love is in a raw or not expressed or not felt emotion. So I think that we have to touch this love, because love is in the air, and we have to connect to it. We have to practice touching love, fulfilling love in every moment in our relations, with ourselves. And my ancestors, my grandparents came here to this area from Yemen, and they came because they loved the earth, they loved the land, they loved the earth, that they felt that they belong to this earth. Not that this earth, this land belongs to them. And they came to live here with whoever lives here, like the Palestinians were living here. And for me, they came in order to make a whole. Because for me, peacemaking is making a whole. It's kind of composing or adding all pieces, slowly, but surely. I think we women, out of love and compassion, and with this determination and tolerance, are the weavers of kind of a quilt blanket, which has to bring comfort and peace to our families, and first of all, but then also to our peoples. I feel that this path of peacemaking, for which we need to be so tolerant, is kind of puzzle which we women are responsible to create piece by piece. And creating this puzzle is based on this determination, tolerance, compassion, and love. And those are based on training our mind and consciousness, and delivering this training to others, especially those in our communities who thinks differently, like extremist, rightist, and such. I think this is our responsibility. And in my opinion, this time of Corona virus, maybe it is our opportunity to stop for a moment, to reflect, and to try to renew our wisdom, our efforts, our strengths, our understanding, in order to create a new visions and new ways to bring all of us together, to advance and making the whole, piece by piece, step by step, with much hope and with much tolerance and with much determination, with much love and compassion. And this very present, I believe, for the future to come. So that's what I have to share out of my frustrations and hope. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Iris, for this very inspirational talk. I just really loved how you brought into perspective that the extremist writers, because they are the ones that are amplified in the Middle East, and need to that there are so many perspectives that are working towards peace is very important. So much for. Now we move on to our next speaker, which is Dr. Dilak Latif. She's an associate professor in the International Development at Nearest University in Nicosia, North Cyprus. She obtained her PhD university from the Middle East Technical University on peace building in ethnically divided societies, and she focused on Bosnia and Herzegovina. Yeah, that was very hard to pronounce, but thank you so much for that. So her research interests are in the area of peace studies, reconciliation, and conflict resolution. And her research has been published on these issues in international edited volumes and peer-reviewed journals as well. So she's so out there. And it's actually worthy of noting that Dr. Dilak is also speaking on behalf of her Greek Cypriot colleague, Mrs. Miranda Christou, to present their project, which they worked on. So it's just really wonderful how the trust flows uninterrupted between the people of the communities. So Dr. Dilak, the floor is yours. We are very much looking forward.
Okay, as you just mentioned, we are just about to start a bicommunal project, the role of women for peace and reconciliation in Cyprus. And we are getting support from US Embassy in Cyprus for that project, and maybe there's a German NGO that is also very much interested in supporting us. So I'll actually briefly talk about the situation in Cyprus, and then I'll move to talk about our project, its basic aims. As I said, it's just about to start, so we haven't done the field work, and therefore we don't have our conclusions yet, but least I can maybe get your feedback. Which so this is a great platform actually for me and for Miranda to actually talk about our project and get your feedback, your opinions, your suggestions. So we can move to the next slide. Okay, sustainable peace in Cyprus can be achieved when both women and men are part of the negotiation and reconciliation process that has been going on actually for decades now. And what we have seen so far from both communities is the marginalization of women in the political processes and the perpetuation of stereotypes that continue to see women as secondary agents in these procedures. This is actually what I got from your presentations, the common issue in broader Middle East. And earlier research on the case of Cyprus has shown that high-level talks discuss issues of peace and security, mostly from a militaristic perspective, leaving out the social and gender dimension of peaceful coexistence. Can we go to the next slide, please? So gender perceptions are regarded as a precondition for sustainable peace. Gender is an important variable that defines different experiences and dispositions. And we, as women from the Middle East, that is full of different types of conflicts, we as women experience these conflicts much different than men. And in order to understand these gendered root causes of insecurity, fear, distrust as drivers of conflict, reliable gender data is needed. However, previous research, such as Peace Research Institute of Oslo Cyprus Center research on the prospects of reconciliation, coexistence, and forgiveness in Cyprus in the post-referendum period in 2007, which I was involved as a researcher and author of the report, and the more recent Security Dialogue Initiative and Gender Score research in 2018 has shown that Cypriot women are more skeptical than men in their approach to peace process and to the resolution of Cyprus problem. So women actually, as the theme of this conference, is known as peacemakers. And in some cases, such as in Ireland, and I know the case of Liberia, that women has been very active in the peace process. However, what actually this early research showed us that women in Cyprus, except the elite women and the urban, basically the Nicosia as the capital, there is like an elite, well-educated women involved in some NGOs and some kind of projects that are trying to move things forward. But in general, especially in the rural areas, we realize that there is a reluctance. All early opinion polls and research shows that women have greater insecurities, therefore they are more reluctant towards a solution under a federal umbrella that would unite the islands, because they have, they find it very risky, they're very skeptical. If at least this is a frozen conflict and there is no bloodshed, but if we try to change it and unite the island under a federal structure, this is unknown. If again we have conflict, if again we have war, so they don't want to risk the lives of their loved ones. Therefore, we see a lot of insecurity, and as a result, a lot of reluctance. And all different research and opinion polls in different periods shows the same results. So there is a real difference between men and women with respect to safety and insecurity of women on both sides of the divide, who actually are the primary homemakers and pillars of the societies. So as I said, up to now, most foreign funded by communal research or meetings so far have remained on elite level, well-educated urban women, primarily, and Nicosia are trying to participate in the negotiations, and there is gender advisory committee. But when we look at the rural areas, the women outside of the power center, there is the opinion polls and research shows that they have concerns, but there has been lack of research. What are their main concerns? What are the reasons of mistrust, fears, security needs of women across the divide? So considering that women's insecurities transforms in skepticism and resistance for peace and reconciliation, acknowledging their perceptions are inescapable for sustainable peace in Cyprus. Women perceptions, especially in the rural areas, need to be identified to shape local solutions for peace and to improve the prospects for a long-lasting solution in Cyprus. Can I have the next slide, please? So the rest of my presentation, I would like to talk about this project that I'm collaborating with a Greek Cypriot colleague from University of Cyprus, Associate Professor Miranda Christou. She cannot be with us during this webinar, but I'm going to talk on behalf of us, what is our aim. So I try to give you the motive and the background of the situation in terms of the gender dimension of the Cyprus conflict. So I'll try to give you more details about our project now. As I said, our project aims to focus on women's perceptions mostly in rural areas across the divide, which is north and south, the Turkish and the Greek parts. And as we all know, these gender perceptions are a precondition for sustainable peace. And gender is an important variable that defines these experiences and dispositions that differ from men. Can I have the next slide, please? So I already mentioned that we would like to capture the concerns of women vis-a-vis the political process and the prospects for a solution. And we believe that inclusion of women's perspectives in the peace process would also improve mutual understanding, trust, empathy, compromise, and the sustainability of a prospective settlement. Can I have the next, please? So we will attempt to provide data that can inform policymakers in the drafting of resolutions towards a successful agreement to the Cyprus conflict. And having Cypriot women's input and insights will will allow creating a better policy perspective, which would enhance the role of women before and after solution to the Cyprus problem. Next, please. So shortly about our methodology, I already mentioned that it will focus on rural areas, and we will look at we'll try to find women living in the provinces of Larnaca, Famagusta, Limassol, and Paphos for the south. Famagusta, the northern part, Kyrenia, Morpho, and Trichomo for the north. Next, please. And to mainstream the gender perspective at the grassroots level, we would like to combine the qualitative and quantitative research techniques so that we have a more representative and more reliable data. And what we aim is to have a quantitative questionnaire, depending on actually how much financial support we get. we proposed 350 from both sides, and we got from some researchers, senior researchers, that we should increase it up to 500 and have at least 1,000 questionnaires, surveys on both sides. And we would like to have in-depth semi-structured interviews with 50 women who are actually more involved in politics, and 2 focus groups, one with Greek Cypriot and one with Turkish Cypriot women. Can I have the next, please? So in conclusion, this project is planned by Cypriot women for Cypriot women, for contributing the effective inclusion of women's concerns and special needs in the peace-building process. In general, it aims to support the development of a public atmosphere and social dynamics that would promote a constructive and intercommunal engagement and constructive dialogue of women. And to this end, it targets identification of specific needs and concerns of women at the grassroots level relating to the political peace process, development of strategies for ensuring the integration of women's concerns in the political agenda, and initiation of a public debate on gender issues. So basically, that's actually what I wanted to discuss about our project. Hopefully, the coronavirus, actually the pandemic, made us postpone the project. We were supposed to start earlier, but we will be able to conduct our interviews by September. And hopefully I will, in another webinar, be able to share with you the results of our project. So at least I'm very happy to have this opportunity to share with you at the initial stage of our project what we are planning to do, and hear what you think about it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Latif is definitely very interesting, and we would definitely look forward for the results. I think Cyprus really deserves to have its issue solved. It's a beautiful island. It has a great potential, not only from beauty point of view, but also a possibility to bring development, prosperity to the Middle East as well as to Europe. It's in between the two. So although it is not so much known, and like Dr. Latif said, it is a frozen conflict. It is not, there's no bloodshed every day or whatever. Still, it is there. It is latent, and it does drain away the potential of that place. Is very important, very important. I'm sure the neighboring countries, the countries that are debating for that particular island, would even feel better if the situation was normalized in that island. The exchanges and communications, be it commercial or anything, would be much better with a clear local situation. Don't you agree, Dr. Latif? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great point.
So, thank you. Yeah, so all our speakers expressed the great power of women in trying to find solutions, trying to bring proposals to improve and build peace in different parts of the Middle East. The Women's Federation for World Peace, inspired by the worldview that guides WFWP, has also formulated its own proposal, a certain proposal that is, it is a concrete proposal that it comes to establish conditions for reconciliation and a breakthrough between those who are officially declared enemies. There has to be a breakthrough, and this project that has been applied and practiced in many parts of the world, as many as Women's Federation exists, which is all over the world. It's called Bridge of Peace. And our next speaker, Mrs. Françoise Murphy, has worked for many years in practicing this project in her community. And she has realized great miracles and great achievements, which she is going to explain to us. So the floor is yours, Mrs. Murphy.
Good afternoon. Yeah, I've prepared a PowerPoint presentation for you this afternoon. First of all, I want to thank you so much for inviting me to this very inspiring conference. And I've been very moved by all of you, by all your talks and all your efforts and, you know, all what you are doing to try to bring peace and reconciliation in your area in the Middle East. So I would like to share with you what I've been doing in my town in the UK. Well, I want to introduce myself. My name is Françoise Murphy. I am originally from Belgium, and I came to the UK in 1996 with my husband and my 2 children. We live in a town called Watford, which is north of London. It's a medium-sized town with quite multicultural. There's also a high percentage of Muslim in my town. So what happened is that when there was the event of 9/11, I think like many of us, we became very worried and concerned about the consequence that this would have for peace and stability in our world. And also I knew that it would affect also my town with the Muslim population and also the rest of the wider community in Watford. So I really wanted to do something. So I started a project called the Watford Bridge of Peace. And in this presentation, I will show to you how it all started and how it all developed over the years and all what we achieved. So if you don't mind to see the next slide here. So first of all, I want to explain to you that the Watford Bridge of Peace is a project of the Women's Federation for World Peace, which is an international organization with consultative status at the UN. And the Women's Federation for World Peace welcomes women from all ethnic and faith backgrounds, women who are concerned about world peace and wish to build a better world, a better future for our children. And the Bridge of Peace is a method used to bring reconciliation for individuals of conflicting backgrounds to come together in forgiveness for the past and with hope and determination for the future. Next slide, please. So we decided on March 2nd, 2003, at the break of the Iraqi war, we decided to invite Christian and Muslim women from our community in Watford. We invite them to take part in the Bridge of Peace ceremony, a sisterhood ceremony. Next slide. So we had 40 women who came from Christian and Muslim community, and they crossed the Bridge of Peace and became peace sisters. And the mayor of Watford was there, and she attended the ceremony. Next slide. So the sister, all the ladies together, they recited the Sisterhood Pledge. And this is the content of the Sisterhood Pledge. Through the Sisterhood ceremony, I joined in friendship with my partner to build a bridge of peace and reconciliation between our communities. As a woman concerned with peace at all levels of human endeavor, I will strive to be a peacemaker and harmonizer in my family, my community, society, and between nations. And the lady who attended the sisterhood ceremony, they exchanged address and they pledged that they would keep contact with each other and that they would learn about each other community, each other faith and each other culture. And so they decided they decided to keep their friendship and develop it. And we call each other Peace Sisters. So next slide. So after the first Bridge of Peace, we organized other Bridge of Peace. And this time we welcome women from other community in Watford. So for our 4th anniversary, on the occasion of the 200th anniversary of the abolition of the slave trade, we invited women from the African Caribbean community. So next slide. And on our 5th anniversary, we invited women from Asian backgrounds. And again, the mayor who had been supporting us since the beginning, as she also participated in Bridge of Peace before, she came and she was with us the whole day. And you can see a picture here where she's cutting our anniversary cake. Next slide. Next slide. Thank you. So beside our Bridge of Peace ceremony, we also had talks on family values and women's dignity. Next slide. And we organize family fun days and we are charity event supporting different organizations. So we did that all together, all the lady, the Peace Sister, together we worked together on all those events. Next slide. Also in 2007, the Bridge of Peace received a grant from the Home Office, the central government of the UK. And the grant was to support and promote our work building bridges between the Muslim community and the wider community. And because, thanks to this grant, we organized seminars on empowering women in conflict resolution. Also, we hired a minibus and the Muslim women, the Christian women, all together, we went to visit the cathedral, St. Albans Cathedral. And so you can see here we are all in the cathedral and we were welcomed by the canon of the cathedral. I just want to say a little anecdote, is that our Muslim sister, it was time for them to do their prayer. So they were asking me, oh, Françoise, where can we pray? You know, in that huge cathedral. So I spoke with the canon. You know, canon is like the special important leader in the cathedral. And I asked him, oh, our Muslim sister want to pray, where can they pray? And he was so puzzled because I don't think he ever heard about Muslim coming to his cathedral, wanted to pray. So as the Muslim lady were impatient, they just went and they put their coat on the floor, it's a stone floor, and they start to do their prayer in the middle of the cathedral. So it was quite an amazing sight for us to see as Christian women, to see a Muslim sister praying there. So anyway, that's just an anecdote. So also we took part in iftar during Ramadan, and we share meals together with our Muslim sister. So next slide. After that, we felt that we wanted to broaden our perspective, and we decided we wanted to welcome all the different community of our town. Not just the women, not just the Christian Muslim, but we want to expand it to the whole town. So we created the Bridge of Peace, co-founded the Watford celebration. Here you can see a picture of the Watford celebration in 2019. And you have representatives from different community. As you know, our town is very multicultural. So you have the little children who are the Polish children, then you have the Indian dancing, then we have Bulgarian, and many other community came together on that day. And we share meal together. Everybody brought food from the different country and we share food. And on top, you can see a picture of the mayor and then the High Sheriff and the Deputy Lord Lieutenant of Hertfordshire. Watford is a town who is situated in Hertfordshire, which is like a county. So the High Sheriff is quite a, it's a quite important position in the county. And so anyway, they have been supporting us also very much, coming almost so many times they come to our Watford celebration. So it was very successful. It has been successful so now it's basically 15 years we have been doing that every year. So next slide. And
say again. I haven't seen it. Oh, it's okay.
Oh, all right, I continue. So what happened at the Watford celebration, we continue to have Bridge of Peace ceremony. And this time we started to invite also men to cross the Bridge of Peace. So you can see here, they're very, very happy. So next slide. So the Watford celebration received an award, a Special Achievement Award at the Audentia Award in 2016. So you can see on top the picture. So that's all our Watford celebration team. You can see we are from many different communities. And in the middle, again, the mayor is there, who have been always supporting us. So you have Christian, you have Muslim, you have Sikh, you have Hindu, you have all kinds of people, Chinese, and anyway. And below is a picture at our 10th anniversary. At our 10th anniversary, the Lord Lieutenant of Hertfordshire, which is the representative of the Queen for Hertfordshire, she came to our anniversary. And she was with us. And also you have the chief of police who was present. So we got support from the police and we got support from the top of the town, from the fire department, because we are bringing everybody together. So next slide. So also the Bridge of Peace have been working together with the Watford Interfaith Association. I became a member of Watford Interfaith Association in 1999, and later on I became the honorary treasurer of the organization. And so we have been organizing interfaith pilgrimage every year since 2008. And in Watford we got representative faiths from all over the world. We got, you can see in one day we visit the Watford Synagogue, we visit the Central Mosque, we visit you can see that's in St. Mary's Church with the Church of England Church. And next slide, please. Then we visit the Shia Mosque, the Roman Catholic Church, the Gurdwara, and then the picture down is you can see all the people who attended the pilgrimage. That's at the end of the pilgrimage at the Gurdwara. So, and we had a meal at the Gurdwara. And yeah, we have been, basically we have an average of 80 to 100 people from all residents of Watford who come and are very interested to find out about the different faith groups of their town. So it has been very successful event that we have been doing, bringing, it was not easy to do this. They were very, very reluctant for like the synagogue. We had really hard time to meet the rabbi, but we persevere and with time and, you know, also the Shia Mosque, it was not easy to get there, but with time and perseverance, we managed to visit everybody. And we have seen a big improvement in our relationship between the different faiths in Watford because of this pilgrimage that we have been doing. So next slide. So another project that the Bridge of Peace is involved with is the Watford Peace Garden. It's the Peace Sister, we are going to the Peace Garden and we help to do planting bulbs, maintaining the Peace Garden, and we offer our Peace Arch to the Peace Garden. So you can see this is our arch that we've been using to do Bridge of Peace ceremony, sisterhood ceremony. So it's there standing now in the Peace Garden at the entrance of the Peace Garden. And in 2018, the Mayor of Watford, Mayor Baroness Dorothy Thornhill, she inaugurated the Peace Garden, and you can see she inaugurated under the arch of our Bridge of Peace. And down you can see a picture of all of us, some of us having a cup of tea. So next slide. So we go to the Peace Garden is used in many different ways, but also to have vigils. We have vigils in the Peace Garden where the whole town come together, remembering the victim of terrorist attacks. And so we have the mayor and the police and everybody and representatives from all different faiths coming together. And we offer prayer and remember all the victims of those attacks. And you can see again, all this is centered on our Bridge of Peace. You can see a Muslim doing the prayer there. And so we remember the victim of Christchurch in New Zealand, and we remember the victim of Sri Lanka. So next slide. So the Watford Bridge of Peace supported the creation of the Watford Faith Leader Forum. It was inaugurated in 2015. And the Watford Faith Leader meet every 3 months in different places of worship around Watford. And they share about topics of concern regarding the town and all kind of things that they are concerned about and they want to speak about. And what happened, they wanted our Bridge of Peace to be part of their meeting. So they asked me to be part, and I told them, I'm not a religious leader, I don't have a congregation and all this. He said, no, they want me to be part of it. So that's why. So I'm going to all the meetings. So you can see at the picture here, it was inaugurated at the mosque. So the faith leader came together at the mosque for the first time. And then we met at the synagogue another time. And we go to meet the Gurdwara, we meet at the church, we meet at Catholic Church, at the Church of England. We go around visiting everybody. And by doing that, you break down a lot of barriers and a lot of misunderstanding between people. So, and the faith leader decided their motto would be being friends before needing to be friends. That's their motto. So they want to build a good relationship with each other so that if something happens, then we can support each other in the town. So that's, so yeah, next slide. So basically, to conclude, the whole development started with the women who come together with the Bridge of Peace Sisterhood ceremony at the beginning, and then it developed to extend to the whole Watford community with the Watford celebration. And then we reach out also to all the faith leaders in the town and all the faith community in the town. So we are like, we embrace the whole town. So now for the moment, I'm working on the Watford Celebration 2020, but because of the lockdown, we cannot meet physically. So then they insisted, oh, we have to do that again. We have to bring our town together. We have to bring something positive to the town. Now that, we have been going through all this suffering with the lockdown. So they insisted so much that we'll have an online Watford celebration. So that's what I'm working on. It will be bank holiday, August bank holiday. Next. So I want to conclude my presentation with a quote from Dr. Hak Cha Han Moon, who is the founder of the Women's Federation for World Peace. I really like this quote, and this is the quote. History is calling for reconciliation, compassion, love, service, and sacrifice. Today's problem cannot be solved by the logic of power. Our present problems can only be solved by the logic of love. And I think that's what we as women, we can bring. I think we are speaking about mother's heart, mother's, I think that's what the world needs so much. The love of mother who can embrace and, who can digest everything, because we are good at digesting things. And then, with our love, we can really win over many people. I've experienced it in my town, Watford, starting with some, the rabbi was so very, very reticent to meet us. Also the Muslim at the beginning, oh my goodness, it was not easy to visit them, but with time and perseverance and not giving up and always loving them and caring for them, then eventually they open up and they, things happen. And so we got really great support from the mayor and from all, from all the people in Watford. And so I just want to conclude like this, and I want to thank you for your attention. And this, if you want to know a little bit more detail of what I've been doing, you can see this is our website. So thank you so much for your attention, and thank you for everyone who is working so hard to try to bring peace and reconciliation everywhere, because I know the Middle East must be very hard place to work, and so I'm very, very grateful, and I have a lot of empathy for you, and really thank you so much for all what you are doing. Thank you.
I know I have seen there is a lot of questions, a lot of comments on the chat box. So we will give the floor to Mrs. Marilyn Angelucci, who is going to lead us into the questions and answers. And the answers will be given by the speakers.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bennett. It was really an amazing presentation tonight, and I think we heard many wonderful things. And as you mentioned, there have been many comments and questions. Yes, Dr. Latif, there's a question about security. What kind of, am I okay? Yes. What kind of security would Cypriots, both Turkish and Greek Cypriots, be satisfied with? I mean, what are they really looking for? Because as we know, the UN is there. And so what exactly is it that they're concerned about, and what would they like to see to be more secure? This is for Dr. Latif.
Actually, Cyprus is a small island. Cyprus is a small island, is one of the most militarized places in the world. There's not just UN. We have Turkish army here, Greek army here, Turkish Cypriot, Greek Cypriot, and UK British forces here. So this is quite a militarized, actually, area. And the situation is there has been a war in 1974, and the island is divided. There's a ceasefire line, and the island is divided as north and south, and the northern part is the Turkish part where I live, and the southern part is the Greek part. But there has been no political settlement reached so far, despite ongoing negotiations under the United Nations auspice, how to say that, umbrella. And now Cyprus even joined the European Union, so the EU also has been part of the conflict, and they're also involved in the negotiations, and they support the solution, but the parties still don't find an agreeable solution. It's basically a political problem. So we live in a very militarized area. divided by a ceasefire, and the actually border was closed down for 27 years, if I'm not wrong, and the border was partially opened 2003. So from 74 till 2003, no one was allowed to cross to the other side, and generations were not knowing who the other people are living on the other part of the island. So the insecurities are about the future, because, as I said, there is a buffer zone, and the UN is there, and there are lots of other armies, but there is also no this ceasefire. The ceasefire is continuing, and this is not the end of the conflict, and all the negotiations are about uniting the island under a federal solution and going back to the situation before the division of the island, before the war. And it is quite, how to say, unknown for the people. If this happens, will it work or not? Are we going to have another tension? Are we going to have another war? So the negotiations are just on the political level. The male leaders of the communities, basically, presidents and the high level of the politicians of both communities, and all these negotiations, as I said, has been taking place between the male leadership.
That leads us into another question.
On the other hand, if we talk about, yes.
The other question is there a commitment to action from the people in power? I mean, are they also concerned about the same things and willing to see that this security is there? That was another question for you. And also, are there goals to work with policymakers? Do the people in action, the politicians, the people in power, do they have a commitment to action along the same lines?
Well, this is like zero and sum game. What one side wants is unacceptable for the other side. That's why we have the negotiations going on since 1970s, mid-1970s. So there is this issue of power sharing, territorial adjustment, and guarantees and security arrangements for the future federal state. And this is like a zero and sum game. And although there have been some, how to say that, on some issues, political leaders managed to reach certain form of agreement. In terms of the vital issues, there is a stalemate, and they couldn't go beyond that. On the other hand, there are great insecurities of the people living here. So it's a frozen conflict, it's a divided island, and people live on their own sides. How to say that, somehow insecurity, but it is on the other hand very militarized and politically very uncertain.
Right, right. Thank you. I think, yeah, I think it's very clear. I think your research will be very important to find the right solutions and to help people to be aware of each other. This is something. Thank you. Thank you very much. Actually, we have another question for Iris. Iris needs to go, so I want to move and ask her some questions. There were many people who mentioned that they were deeply moved by Iris. And let's see, one of the questions was, what is the greatest obstacle, in your opinion, to make peace between Israel and Lebanon? So Dr. Iris.
Thank you. You see, for me, I'm thinking a lot about our relations with Lebanon, especially since I meet in any any conference of WFWP, women from Lebanon, and sometimes I meet, anger. Sometimes I feel I meet a woman with whom I feel so very close and friendly, and it is amazing to see the differences. And for me, there is much longing to Lebanon. I don't know why. Maybe because it is ungettable. I think that one of the obstacles is the combination between Lebanon and Hezbollah. And I think that Israel was fighting, the fight with Lebanon was very, very severe and dramatic, but it was against the Hezbollah. And there is a mixture there that I don't know how to solve it. I think that maybe, but it's, it is for the Israeli parliament to do, that Israel has to make kind of an apology in front the Lebanese people, separating them from the Hezbollah. But I don't know. I have nothing to say to my government. But also another obstacle is that we don't have any options and occasions for meetings between Israeli women and Lebanese women. No way for us to meet each other. And maybe WFWP might do something like making a meeting between Israeli women and Lebanese women. And I know that for us it's not forbidden, at least. We are not forbidden by the government, to meet Lebanese women. I know that Lebanese, sometimes they are forbidden to meet us. If WFWP will do something, even under another umbrella, not peace meeting, but something else like meditation meeting or studying something together, I don't know, weaving meeting, maybe there will be some, first step. I would be very happy because we don't have any option to cooperate with Lebanese in this way. So thank you for the question. For me, it was very, very important.
That's very, very right. Thank you. You're right, Iris. We need to do that. That's excellent.
Yeah.
There was one other question. How do we encourage women to go beyond borders to work for the whole? I think this dialogue is very important. And I honestly, anyways, I should just ask the question. How to encourage women to go beyond borders to work for the whole? That was a second question that came through you.
You see, I don't know about Palestine. I have to meet women leaders from Palestine because usually I meet more men peace leaders from Palestine. I meet activist women, but not leaders. This is also for WFWP, but I think that we can push women to go to Palestine. We can do it. For me, it is non-violent resistance to the occupation. I'm going to Bethlehem, to Ramallah, to places like that. Palestinians women are not coming. I don't know exactly why, but this is about meeting in person. The other thing is, working together in order to help really people to do some really consciousness practicing about what I was speaking about. The Palestinian and the Israelis are not so different. They are just the same. For me, I discovered my roots, my Arabic roots, because my family came from Yemen. Since I was in relations with Palestinians, I understood many things about my my ethnic roots. So we have to meet, we have to meet, we have to meet, we have to meet under any reason. And we can do it. It's not funny. We can do it.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, let's go to Palestine. So Samia, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm with you. Yes.
Good. So there is a question, you know, you talked about many policies changing, and this is really amazing work because we know that's not easy. But how do we strengthen the women so they take care of these policies? Meaning, how do we strengthen the women so they can realize and report the atrocities that happen to them, or go to the officials? And, you know, I mean, to report against your husband is very difficult, for instance, or against your father. So how can we strengthen the women so they can report their honest situation and ask for help?
Actually, any woman who has a problem, let's say with the family or, you know, with the neighborhood, they have organizations that they can reach it, and there is lawyers, female lawyers, who tell them where to go and what to do. First of all, they can be sit in a safety house. This house is let's say sponsored by the government and part of it from the civil society. So they are in a safe place until their problem is solved. So we have this kind of a step, you know, to protect these women until the lawyer raised the issue to the court and so on. That's, you know, if we talk about, you know, everyday problems and so on. But still we have, if you have heard of this honor killings, and it's raising these days, especially this year. And what we are doing is that every day, every time, every chance we go out as activists to the center of the town to demonstrate that what is happening is wrong, and we have to respect the international law, because, you know, as I said in my speech, that still there is some gaps in our law is not covered. So that's why we were happy to sign this, you know, 1325 to get, you know, the power out of these international agreements. The problem so far that our law, the Palestinian law, did not adopt the international agreements yet. So it's not implemented yet. Here's the problem. What we are doing as a civil society, as women and activists, we continue, you know, go in front of the Prime Minister's office and demonstrate and tell them that we have signed the agreement, you have to publish it in the official gazette, and we have to do the next steps. Also, as a civil society, every 2 years, the government write their official report to a human rights organization, and we, as a civil society, we write the shadow report, and we say, you know, this band or this article is not implemented, this one is still not going on. And so we raise our voice to the international organizations, as long as we don't have much power on ground. So I hope I answered.
Very nice. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Sonia. Okay, Svetlana, are you still with us? Svetlana?
Yes, I'm here, dear. I'm here.
Okay, thank you very much for your informative talk about what's happening in Lebanon and the powerful Lebanese women. So there was one question about this policy that the women are fighting for, that 30% of the parliament would be female. So the question is, do you think that the men are ready to accept the women as female politicians? Would they be willing to listen to the women and treat them as equals?
I'm losing you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The question was about, you mentioned that the women in Lebanon are demanding to have 30% of the parliament be female. So the question is, do you think that the male politicians are ready to accept female politicians working equally together with them?
Well, as I said, the last prime minister has taken 6 women on board in the government. Was this under the popular movement and women leadership that was during this protest came as a positive examples, or was it a pressure? So was it a pressure from the street or not? The fact was that the political parties have appointed these women, which means men, all of them men, have realized that obviously they were doing something wrong all this time. So I think that was a very encouraging step. Still, Parliament, as I said, has not agreed to 30% quota as a way to improve political representation. But I think all these events since October have shown extraordinary leadership women had exposed, and we are talking about women from the street, from cities, from villages, who have come up, who have given a floor, and who were not only participating in sit-ins, they were leading debates, they were openly challenging the governments, the mayors, ministries, the whole structure, sectarian structure and division the government has actually imposed on its own people, divided by sectarian groups and religious group, which actually made them to be apart instead of to be united. So all this, I think it's a positive move ahead, and let's see if time will show how politicians can be influenced more, and will they be?
Very good. Well, I think, yeah, they need to listen to the people. That's very clear now, right? Thank you very much. Now for Francoise, there was, everybody was really impressed with the Bridge of Peace ceremony and how you've developed that work in your town. It really is a wonderful example. Many people mentioned, wonderful comments. And there was a question. One question was, can we do this in the Middle East? And another question was, what about communities that are not organized around religious groups? Do you have any hesitation in meeting them? And what approach would you use to meet people that were not organized around a religious group?
Yeah, that's why we did the Watford celebration. You see, Watford celebration, we invite all people. And we got at the Watford celebration, we have a place we call the Sacred Space. And we have a humanist. There's a humanist come and discuss about, so they just, and they have discussion. And we always choose a topic for them to discuss. And then so we invite people who don't believe in God. We invite humanists.
Very impressive.
We have the Chinese, we have all Spanish, we have Bulgarian, we have all kind of Polish, and we have a bit of everything. But I must say that this is more inspired by religious people. That's true. But basically, we are open to invite anybody. People who believe in God and who have no faith, and people who have faith. And even the pilgrimage, sometimes there are people who have no faith who are just curious to see what a synagogue looks like, or a mosque. Very interesting, because people are all worried about the Muslims. But by us giving them an opportunity to go to the mosque and finding out, having personal relationship with the imam and the people there, then they change their view on things. So yeah, we invite everybody.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. And there was a question about, can we do this in the Middle East? But I believe we have. Zoe, would you like to explain about some Bridge of Peace experience that might have happened in the Middle East up until this point?
Yes, indeed. We have been doing many efforts, many seminars. The thing is, we haven't pushed that far as Mrs. Murphy says, organize and continue, perhaps because authorities have not been involved in each of these countries. And indeed, there's a lot to explore. There's a lot to do. Within one country, there is always a lot of divisions. If we start by organizing bridges of peace and then pursuing the results of this, it's not just the ceremony of going under a nice bridge and giving hands and something like that. There is a pledge. What is the contents of the pledge? Can we implement it? Can we have this desire to build on this pledge, to build on activities that will do a common good in the country? And that's where perhaps the local authorities can develop, and from the local authorities it can go larger and larger. This is a long plan. Definitely we want to do it in every place that it would be possible to do, and I think it's possible to do it everywhere. It needs perseverance and planning. Yeah, we want very much, and it's so encouraging to see on the chat so many people saying, oh, let's do it in the Middle East. Why not do it there, here and there? It's an encouragement for us, for me, to make an effort to pursue that. We have been doing until now 24 times these Middle East women's conferences, Women's Conference for the Peace in the Middle East. With great success, many conflicting countries, women leaders came together discussing, leaving certainly much more hopeful, but we need to go into the countries with the authorities, with the foundation that these women can give us, the access that they can give us, so we can pursue and develop. This is our dream and our desire to do. Yeah.
Thank you. That finishes our question and answer session. Thank you very much, everyone, for all the wonderful comments and questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Angelucci. It was great. It was very good, very well conducted, and I think everybody's very satisfied with this. Again, if you have more questions, more comments, the chat will not be there anymore, but please don't hesitate to send me your questions, your comments. I will forward them to the speakers. I want to thank everybody, thank especially all our speakers for participating, for giving us so much food for thought. And we will have to close here, unfortunately. I want to let you know that already we have a tentative date for the number 3, session 3 of this short series, the 1st of September. It's a tentative date. And the subject will be about the humanitarian work that is being done. Not just what we usually do and think in the West, yeah, we need to help just like this, but what is the follow-up? How is it really substantial? And what does it take to substantially and really responsibly help people to raise them up, to raise countries and situations after conflict, after difficult situations. Yeah, that will be for the 1st of September, and you're all invited. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone. I wish you a nice evening. Bye.